Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Monday, December the 4th. I was greeted this evening by a comment as I get organized here from BF on YouTube, who says, "It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling, a feeling you know that I'll be back when the day is new and we'll have more bad Titans news." It is, shit rolls downhill, basically, is the state of things right now for the local professional football team. And Craig Aukerman just got rolled up in a pile of it. So we're going to talk about this tonight. And basically, the question that I think a lot of Titans fans should be asking themselves, whether or not you wanted Craig Aukerman fired today is one thing. Who actually made the decision is another. And it's not a question that Mike Vrabel was asked, but I think it is definitely worth pondering. So we'll talk about these things together on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We'll get into it. There's a compelling game involving an AFC South team tonight, who Jack Penfold says would love to see the Bengals beat these douches. Weird for Titans fans to call one team that's not the Bengals douches, given the way that you tend to feel about that particular organization. In fact, I know, talking to players who've been on the roster in the last couple of years, I think that the Bengals are the team that they currently hate the most as a franchise. But anyway, Don Sennell, forgive me if I've just butchered that, says, "Does it matter who made the decision? Why is that important?" He is gone. Why is that important? Oh, goodness. I mean, for any number of reasons. Don't you want to know who's actually running things? You've just come off a week last week where basically everybody on the Eastern Seaboard questioned your general manager and basically his legitimacy in his job. The fact that there are legitimate questions to be asked about who's making the decision on your coaching staff as well, it's very important. And, maybe you just haven't thought about it like that. But, I get that fans want blood, and when you get blood, you're satisfied for a period of time. But don't you care where that's coming down from? If not, you certainly should. And because I do, unfortunately for you, you have to care tonight, because that's what we're going to talk about. Ownership having more involvement, theoretically. We don't know that there was a decision handed down from ownership today, and that's the place that I want to start. All I know is that Mike Vrabel has not asked the question as to whether it was his decision or a decision that came down above him. And, I honestly didn't think of the thing until we were sitting here prepping for prime time tonight. So we're going to go through this, and we're going to talk about the parallels between this firing of Craig Aukerman and a week to the day, a year to the week is what I'm trying to say. A year to the week removed from firing John Robinson. That parallel and that irony should not be lost on any of you. So Lamar Daniels says he is not satisfied on Facebook Live. He wants more firing. Okay, well, if they're willing to do it in season, everything's on the table, which is where we're going to start tonight. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Superbook Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising, except it's the Zen Sports Studios. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the great people at Zen Sports. Download the Zen Sports app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, and be rewarded with your $1,000 no danger first wager. Up to $1,000, like I said. Tell you more about their VIP package at zensports.com. TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to truemathfitness.com for your first workout free. As a Middle Tennessee resident, nobody goes above and beyond for you and for your workout for the best version of you, the way that True Math Fitness does, by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Wherever justice demands, Amanda J. and her team, they've got you covered. Go to amandajgentry.com to have your constitutional rights protected today. All right, so in the most un-Mike Vrabel-like or least Vrabel-like press conference in the history of Mike Vrabel being the head coach here, not just because he fired Craig Aukerman today or announced that he fired Craig Aukerman today, but for a variety of different reasons, which we will detail. Mike Vrabel got up to the podium and made the announcement that Craig Aukerman, that they'd had a conversation. You'll hear from Mike Vrabel on this in just a second, that they'd had a conversation with the special teams coordinator and they chose to move in a different direction. So I want to say it on the front end. You know, I have been told a lot of things since that press conference came out, and none of them that I think are more than theories. I want to say that there's been enough reckless speculation and unsupported theorizing about the current Titans organizational chart by a lot of people this week. And that's not something that I want to contribute to. But I do think that this is a fair question for us to chew on here tonight on the Primetime Show, given the amount of conversations that I've been having about it. So, which member of the Titans brass, if we're recklessly speculating, which member of the Titans brass is holding the smoking gun right now? Because it was assumed in that press conference, it seems, and full disclosure, I was not in the press conference. We were doing the radio show today during the press conference, and we carried the press conference live. So I did not ask a question, nor was I physically present for the press conference today. I do think that's important to note. Now, if somebody made a call on Craig Aukerman, and we're recklessly speculating here, who do you think it was? Because I'm going to go through a list of reasons why I don't think it was Mike Vrabel here in just a second. In the comments on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Of course, it is your Two Rivers Ford Take. Of course, your Two Rivers Ford Take is made possible by the beautiful people, by the wonderful people, by the incredible people at Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people. That's what they tell you. That's what they deliver to you, whether you like to shop online. I custom ordered my 2022 Ford Explorer. They delivered it to my house. They will literally drop it off at your doorstep. It's Christmas time. Amazon packages are all over the place. Why not get a new car under the tree? Whether you like to shop in person, Two Rivers Ford always puts you in the driver's seat. They always put you in position to succeed. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So, if we're recklessly speculating, who's holding the smoking gun today? Because I do think that this is an important question to think about for a variety of different reasons. Not just because Craig Aukerman got fired today, but because it leads you to start to speculate about who's making any decision moving forward in the future. In previous years, Amy Adams Strunk, as the controlling owner, was not super hands-on. John Robinson was the general manager, and the general manager who had Mike Vrabel, who hired Mike Vrabel, and whom Mike Vrabel reported to. That is no longer the status of the Titans organizational chart. As we have documented, as many people have documented, as many people have speculated about as well, some founded, some unfounded, to be completely frank with you. And I think that this is something that, as we talk about who's making the decisions on how to better this football team in the future, it is worth pondering today. Mike Peck says Rand making sure people put respect on his name. So you think he had to get his first and not to make light of a man losing his job and a family, having their situation thrown into uncertainty, because of course that sucks. If you're Craig Aukerman, if you're Matt Canada, who got fired for the Steelers, any of these people who have been let go in the middle of the season. Rand making sure people put respect on his name, says Mike Peck. Michael Kobeck says, Amy got embarrassed last year with the AJ trade fiasco. This was just as bad of a look. Well, no, I disagree that trading AJ Brown was as bad that yesterday was as bad as of a look as trading AJ Brown. They got beaten in overtime by a team that probably should have beaten them. I mean, had they had any competency in the red zone, the Colts could have blown them out yesterday, right? If we're being completely honest about it. And the Titans put up a fight and they ultimately lost. So I think that when you look at this situation, Amy Adams Strunk is very present. She's more present as an owner, as a controlling owner, than she has been at any other point during the franchise's during her stint, during her tenure, let's call it, as the franchise's controlling owner. They didn't get embarrassed yesterday, but they had a ton of missed opportunities. The special teams were a disaster. Let's make no mistake about it. If they wanted to fire Craig Aukerman on a day or a day removed from, let me count the different ways that they fouled up the special teams situation, on a day where in losing to the Indianapolis Colts, they had the long kick return. They previously undefeated at home. They missed an extra point because the quarterback, the backup quarterback, who is formerly the starting quarterback, who is a $30 million player, who is now being trotted out there without practice to hold for extra points, a missed extra point that ends up being, a substantial difference in an overtime game. 2 punts blocked, one of which went for a touchdown. The second of the two knocked Ryan Stonehouse out for the season, which Mike Vrabel confirmed today. If they wanted to pick a day to do it, there are definitely worse days to do it. But I'm sitting here asking the question, and it doesn't matter because they didn't beat the Colts. But is Craig Aukerman such a big problem? Is Craig Aukerman that much more of a problem than Todd Downing was last year? Todd Downing got a DUI. We're gonna get into this here in just a second. I'm gonna remind you that the Primetime Show, speaking of legal protections, the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, wherever justice demands, they go above and beyond to serve you, whether it's your constitutional rights that are being infringed upon, or you need just legal advice about what the level and nature of your constitutional rights are. That is what Amanda J. and her team do. That is what they will do passionately for you. All you need to do is go to amandajgentry.com for more information. So again, here's Mike Vrabel announcing the firing of Craig Aukerman earlier today.
Had a conversation with Craig Aukerman of going to move on and make a change there in our leadership on a special teams unit. I'm excited about the possibility of Tom Quinn leading that group. Tom's going to take over those duties. Brings a lot of experience and knowledge. He's a great teacher, and so hopefully, we'll be able to, continue the stuff that we've done well, which there has been some, plenty of things in there that we've done well, and hopefully, eliminate those mistakes that cost you. So I want to thank Craig for what he's done for us, certainly in the time that I've been here. But felt like this was the best thing for the team and for the players moving forward. Most importantly, the players. So with that, take some questions on the game and upcoming game here with the Dolphins.
That decision, was that like something over time? Or was that
Teron, just trying to evaluate, what we do, who we do it with. I just felt like, this was the timing was what it needed to be, and felt like it was best for the team and for the players, especially going forward.
I don't recall you making an in-season move before.
No, Corey. No, that had, again, everything is, there's no real precedent to anything. It's, you try to get a feel for, what's best and what's needed. And whether we've done something in the past, there's, times in, we haven't run a certain coverage or we hadn't run certain plays. And I think those decisions are about timing and feel. So that's, that's the decision that was made. And, again, we're going to get back to work here moving forward and trying to get as healthy as possible and go down and win a game against a very good opponent on a road and a big stage.
It's the most interesting press conference Mike Vrabel's ever given. Because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Craig Aukerman didn't need to be fired. Okay, there's been, and I think some of you guys pointed this out in the comments, there's been signs for years that Craig Aukerman and largely the Titans special teams unit, with him overseeing it, has been underperforming. He has been here since Mike Mularkey and was retained by Mike Vrabel's staff. And I'd be lying to you and I said this on the radio show earlier today, I'd be lying to you if I told you who the special teams coaches, like the up-and-comers in the special teams coaching ranks are. I'm not going to pretend like I've got that level of insight on special teams, even though this is a very important thing, and this is how a lot of people rise through the ranks in the NFL coaching cycle. I just, it would be disingenuous for me to sit here and go through a special teams coach's hot board with you. I don't have one of those. So here's a couple of things that stand out from that first exchange. He's never done it before. Never made an in-season coaching change. Never done it before. He didn't make an in-season coaching change last year when his offensive coordinator got a DUI for speeding, recklessly driving, was pulled over for suspicion of DUI, subsequently arrested. And the details of that are easy for you to find, but, safe to say, worse than not running certain coverages on special teams. One would think. So, okay. Does it actually fix anything this season to do it right now? Again, I'm not arguing for, I'm not arguing against. But it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Again, it is reckless for me to speculate, but since we're doing reckless speculation, I think that there's more at play here, and I think that matters for the larger theme of how this football team is run. And what we're seeing right now from Mike Vrabel is reactionary. Nobody would ever accuse Mike Vrabel of being reactionary. I am familiar, and by the way, this could be a good thing. It could change completely how they run their special teams operation. I'm inclined to think not, but we'll see, right? I mean, they're doing something, but what does that something actually accomplish right now? Alex Bienz has got to send the message. I think there are going to be a lot of changes in the offseason. Sure, but okay. Let's take that as a theory. Let's take that as a theory. Got to send a message. What changed from November 20th when that's the last time that anybody asked him. I think Stillman might have asked him whether he was at that time considering any changes to his coaching staff. He flatly said no. What has changed between November the 20th and December the 4th that would make that message, that would necessitate that message being sent? Like I said, you couldn't find a more convenient day to fire him. But on a year to the week removed from firing John Robinson and knowing what we know about Mike Vrabel for 6 years as the Titans head coach here, and knowing that this is the exact opposite of everything that he's done in this situation, I'm just curious to know who actually made the call and whether that call was in fact collaborative. Again, I don't know the answer to this question. I'm just here to talk about it and pose it and think about it with you guys. Whether that decision was reached collaboratively, where the coaching staff and Mike Vrabel, and whether it's Amy Adams Strunk or the ownership group, had a conversation and said, hey, do we need to figure something out here? What's in the best interest of everybody? Okay, the conclusion that we've reached is fire Craig Aukerman. Or was it said, all right, that was unacceptable yesterday. Somebody needs to go. The special teams were atrocious. Fire Craig Aukerman. These are two different discussions, right? Like I said, it can be the right decision, but I want to know more about how they reached the conclusion that they did. And I don't know that he would have answered more questions than he already did about Craig Aukerman. I think he would have deferred to, hey, we got a game coming up on Monday Night Football. Ask me some question about the Dolphins. But I'm fascinated by it. I'm definitely fascinated by it. Gerald T says, why didn't the order come from Rand? Well, if we're posing theories, here's what I'll say. In all the feedback that I've gotten from today, from people in the organization and people close to the organization, Rand Carthon's name was not mentioned once in the decision. In the discussion around the decision. That is why I personally am not including Rand Carthon, because Rand Carthon didn't even come up on my radar today. I've had a lot of conversations about this since the radio show ended. The feedback that I have gotten most is this is not something that Mike Vrabel do, or this is not something that Mike Vrabel would do. And, there's probably more there. Anyway, we'll keep it moving. So for the purposes of this discussion, Mike Vrabel will not talk again until Wednesday. It will be curious to see whether he's asked any more questions about this. But I do want to ask you the question, should Amy Adams Strunk be more or less involved than she currently is as an NFL owner. Now, the question here is we don't really know the degree, which is why we're having this discussion tonight. We don't really know the extent to which Amy Adams Strunk is involved, other than you know that she is the controlling owner. But you as a fan, would you like her more involved or less involved with the current state of the team? On Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, we will discuss at length together right after I remind you that the Primetime Show is made possible by the great folks at TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com. Your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. Nobody puts you in better position to succeed the way that the staff at TrueMath Fitness does. Nobody gets you better workouts. No workout ever recycled or repeated. No facility is better in downtown Nashville for you to achieve your fitness goals, whether that's the group workout classes, whether that's a membership to work out on your own schedule, or personal training sessions the way that you know that I love to do. TrueMathFitness.com has something for you. A new way to work out for the best version of you. Go to TrueMathFitness.com and get that first workout free. So, would you like Amy Adams Strunk more or less involved as your controlling owner here? I asked this question today, not just because we're having this discussion about, all right, who actually made the call or who most made the call. I'm sure it was collaborative to an extent, but who most was responsible for making the call to fire Craig Aukerman today. In that vein, a lot of you guys want more decisions made about your coaching staff. Some of you want Mike gone. Some of you want coordinators gone. Some of you want them to completely clean house. There's, now that you've tasted blood, you want more. And by the way, you can say push. Drew Mills says, do we not remember who her dad was? Less involved for Drew Mills. Bud Adams was involved. Guys like Dan Snyder, one of the worst owners in the history of professional sports. Dan Snyder, very heavily involved. Jim Irsay, very heavily involved in the day-to-day. Jerry Jones, famously involved, but Jerry, I think even to a lesser extent. I would say that in what I know about how far Amy's involvement extends, she has never been more involved than she is right now, or really in the calendar year since this decision was made to fire John Robinson and to add that today to the Craig Aukerman circumstance. I'm curious whether you as a fan like the idea of that. Again, we're just talking about the idea of it, not as to whether it's actually happening or not, but the idea of it. Do you want a more involved ownership structure or not? Kendrell says, don't really care. This organization needs to get it together from Amy on down. But think about this. Tepper, right? David Tepper, famously now fired 3 coaches since 2018, has had 3 more interim coaches since 2018. They have been a disaster, and all he's done is spend money to try and make them better. They can't get better because they have an ownership group with a patience problem, and that does not lend itself. They have an ownership group with a patience problem and who has pretty, I don't want to say exclusive veto power, but I think that there's a lot of this stuff that you look at and you say, well, in the case of like David Tepper, for example, is a more involved owner beneficial to the franchise? You would have to say absolutely not. There are owners who delegate well. There are owners who are basically absentee, and there are owners who like to get involved with the minutia. I think that it is impossible to get better unless you start with the ownership group. And the question of better is pretty nebulous. None of these 32 circumstances are created equal, or I guess 31. 32, because the Green Bay Packers don't have like a centralized ownership structure, right? They're fan owned. R. Johnson on YouTube says, I think she has been stepping in at the right time. Reynald says, Buck, I think Amy has given Vrabel more than enough time to get his shit together and have control of coaching. It obviously isn't working, so she had to step in. It's possible. Again, that's a theory. Unless you have sources that you're willing to go on record for, Reynald. And I understand. I'm doing the same thing, right? We're theorizing tonight as far as some of this goes, because I think that this is the kind of stuff fans need to be thinking about. Potentially, it's possible. She has given Mike more leash than ever, right? Heading into this season. And, if you read Diana Rossini's reporting, in fact, we need to talk to Diana. I'm going to text Diana. I'll wait till after the show to text Diana Rossini to see if she'll hop on the radio show this week to talk about this, because she spoke to ownership and reiterated their commitment to Mike Vrabel and that they understand that this year is kind of, all right, we'll see how it goes, and they need to patch this thing up together. I think that this is a fascinating circumstance, especially given the really critical period of time that this franchise is in. Winning fixes everything. Winning covers up a lot of everything, a lot of problems that can be going on when even the winning is happening, right? The problem here is they're not winning, and so everything becomes that much more exposed. Green Thumb on YouTube says, Mike Keith, who would know, said on the OTP, Vrabel fired Aukerman, and that Amy knew this would be a bad year, and she is fine with it because she knew that they had no cap space and draft picks. I haven't heard the OTP recently, Thumb, but I'll have to check it out, because Mike Keith is, of course, hugely credible. And, like I said, I don't want to comment on things that I haven't heard yet. So, potentially that's out there. I think it's important to have the context of the actual audio. So I'm going to withhold any reaction on that. But what I know is there are a lot of people questioning who's in the building and outside the building, who are connected to the building, who's actually making the decisions there, whether it's stuff like Rand Carthon, whether it's Craig Aukerman today, whether that's the decision to keep Mike Vrabel down the road or not. Again, all of it worth just spending more time thinking about. And that, I think, is the current place that the Titans are in. Before we welcome Bert in here, in case you missed it, I'll remind you that the Primetime Show is presented by the great folks at Zen Sports. Download that app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, and get your up to $1,000 in no danger first wager. Zen Sports is an awesome app and a great program that allows you to wager on all of your favorite major sports. They also have the brand new VIP rewards program, which allows top tier customers to earn more bonuses, comps, and perks. The program is VIP only, so if you feel that your Zen Sports play qualifies for VIP consideration, please check out the program and details at zensports.com/VIP. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. All right, Bert, you tried to get out of it. Get your ass in here.
You're never going to let me slip out on work. Well, they are back from the half. I'll let you guys get back to the game in just a second. Never thought I'd be rooting for the Bengals, but here we are. There was a lot of discussion today about the college football playoffs and who got in and who shouldn't have got in and who, dadgummit, they were undefeated. I think there's a lot of opinions, and not many of them are wrong, right? I could listen to opinions for just about any team in the top six. Maybe even Ohio State. Their one loss was to the best team in the nation. They probably had a bigger draw than Alabama did. But however you look at it, somebody is going to be upset, because as parity starts to continue in this league, as the transfer portal starts letting everybody be on an equal playing field, there are going to be more better teams. There are going to be a lot of teams at the top fighting for those spots. But one guy that I couldn't disagree with today was Stephen A. And Stephen A. had an opinion that I just couldn't find the fault in his logic.
The people that you should be blaming most is TCU. TCU went into the national championship last year against Georgia and got beat down and bum rushed 65-7. We have learned that college sports, particularly college football, is a business. The reality is, when you take that into consideration and Jordan Travis is out, and you looked at the way y'all struggled to beat Louisville 16-6, which wasn't the most impressive way to go out. What you had was a committee that looked at what transpired last year, took into account what we've been seeing from Alabama the last 11 weeks, understanding that they they closed the deal by beating the number one ranked team in the nation, who, by the way, happens to be the reigning, defending, two-time national champions, okay? So they took them out, all right? And obviously, you got to take that into consideration. And so what I'm saying to you is this. There's a lot of things that we don't want to go, Shannon, and I'm going to go to you and Dan. I'm going to say this, because I'm going to say this is going to be very, very uncomfortable. But it's necessary to say this. I brought up TCU. You know what else I'm going to bring up?
What that?
I'm going to bring up primetime Deion Sanders. I bet you if primetime Deion Sanders was that coach, they wouldn't have gotten left out. And Norvell is a sensational coach and has done a sensational job, and I'm not taking anything away from him. But why do I bring that up? Because if Primetime had an undefeated team, the sizzle that he brings to the sport matters. We want to act like it doesn't matter, but it matters because it's a business. And the reality is that when TCU stinks up the joint, regardless of how great they were last year, these are the kind of things that come back to haunt you because the committee is sitting back and going like this. Damn, it's Texas, it's Washington, it's Michigan. We don't need to see Florida State without Jordan Travis in that game. It's unfair. We know it's unfair. Florida State deserved better. Incredible season on their part. Very unfortunate, but Kirk Herbstreit spent yesterday educating us that part of the committee's critique, or criteria rather, is player and coaches' availability. That's one of the nuggets that they threw in there. That can't be ignored.
Spot the lie.
They're not leaving out primetime. You're right.
They wouldn't leave him out. They would not leave him out. So again, this comes down to what's the best TV product. And I'm not that upset about it. But you know what? I got a little time tonight. Fella in the comments, Jack said, again, Bert, get a grip. Jack, you are always old man grumping in here. What you always grumping so hard for? You got that pretty lady on your arm, and you want to come in here and tell me to get a grip? How about if you had a tighter grip on that thing, maybe you wouldn't be so upset. Maybe you wouldn't be so wound tight. So while we're in here talking, Jamar Chase just scored a 76-yard touchdown on my bench. That's good. So Jack, I don't know. I've been trying to.
Why are you sensitive about the comments? Why are you sensitive about the comments?
I'm not.
Yes, you are. All Jack is pointing out is that you're outsourcing your entire segments on a weekly basis now to long Stephen A. Smith clips. We all see it. You should too.
Hey, come here. I don't give a damn about the comments, and I don't give a damn about who made it in the playoffs. Have a good one, fellas.
Get out. That's in case you missed it. This week, I told you, he's always just back there, shirtless, naked, pants or no pants, playing some video game and smoking cigarettes. That is Robert Walsh. Always appreciate your guys' time with us this evening. From Sunday to Thursday night at 8 p.m. or thereabouts. It's a pretty compelling Monday Night Football game between the Bengals, who just went up 21-14 at 5-6. Don't look now, but Jake Browning in the upside down 9, wearing number 6 tonight for the Bengals, looks a little Burrowish from the side profile. So we'll see how this continues to manifest. Jackie Holbert says, damn, he is smoking inside the house. It's the least surprising thing ever, Jackie. You have to understand. This is just who he is. You cannot, it's a very fragile ecosystem. You cannot disrupt the environment. If you try and change him, he will only double down and smoke 2 cigarettes at once instead of 1. So that is going to do it for us tonight. We will enjoy the rest of our evening. Radio show tomorrow at Toy Field. Come hang out. We'll be at Nissan Stadium. The vibes will be better than a Titans game because it's a great charity opportunity. Bring a toy or a gift for a senior, because seniors in need who maybe don't necessarily have family around them because of their circumstance could always use somebody to think of them as well. So check that out. Salvation Army does a great job with Toy Field, and we are happy to be a part of it. So we'll see you tomorrow at Toy Field and then back here tomorrow night for A to Z Sports Prime Time. Talk to you guys.
This is our Colts, this is our team, we bleed blue. This is our Colts, whether win or lose, we love them. For the shoe, beat the Titans, let the world hear us now. This is our team, go Colts.